I found out my 4 kids aren't mine after 40 years of marriage. Their real dad was my best friend. I went scorched earth. Throwaway account. Names changed. It still doesn't feel real typing this. I used to roll my eyes at stories like this. You know the type. Guy finds out after decades that his kids aren't his, marriage was a lie, best friend stabbed him in the back. I'd think, that sucks, but that'll never be me. I'm a regular guy. I work hard, keep my head down, mind my business. I thought I was immune to this kind of TV movie drama. Turns out, nobody's immune. You just don't know it until the ground falls out from under you. I'm 63 now. For most of my adult life, I was Mr. Reliable. Married my high school sweetheart Linda when I was 22. She was the first girl I ever really loved. I was the shy guy in our friend group. She was the one with the laugh you could hear from across the gym at a basketball game. She wore this blue windbreaker every day senior year, even in May, and I always teased her about it. She'd wink and say, "It's my lucky jacket." For a while I thought maybe I was her lucky charm. We got married in a tiny church with bad carpet and a leaky roof. My best friend Mark was my best man. He was there for everything from 3rd grade on. Linda's sister sang The Rose, off-key. My mom cried through the whole ceremony, and Mark gave a toast that had half the reception laughing and the other half rolling their eyes. It was the kind of day you think about when you can't sleep at night. I was so nervous I nearly dropped the ring. We didn't have much at first. I was just starting out as an apprentice electrician, making peanuts, working swing shifts and scraping together enough for rent. Linda worked at a bakery, then quit when Amanda was born. That was 38 years ago. I still remember the day we brought her home. I'd never been so scared and so proud in my life. Our kids came one after another. Amanda, then Jason 3 years later, Rachel 2 years after that, and Kyle a few years after Rachel. 4 kids in 9 years. Our house was always loud. There was always a mess. Cheerios ground into the carpet, socks everywhere, someone crying or laughing or both. We did the whole American dream thing. BBQs in the backyard with neighbors. Christmases with matching pajamas, Linda's idea. I taught all my kids to ride bikes, scraped my knees more than once running after them. I wasn't a perfect dad, but I tried. I worked overtime to keep up with bills, bought used cars, packed lunches for field trips, coached Jason's little league team. Amanda was the first to get married. I walked her down the aisle and sobbed like a fool. Rachel made me a grandpa. Her daughters got my eyes. Or so I thought. Linda and I had rough patches like any couple. Money was tight sometimes. I worked 2 jobs one year so we could afford braces for all 4. I missed a few birthdays, but I was always home for Christmas. We fought about dumb stuff, her mother, my brother, the thermostat. But nothing ever felt big enough to break us. Mark was always around. He and I met in 3rd grade when he punched me in the arm after I beat him at Foursquare. We were inseparable after that. He was the life of every party, always had a dirty joke or a wild story. He was my best man, godfather to 2 of my kids, honorary uncle to all of them. We fished together, played poker on Thursday nights, watched the Bears lose every Thanksgiving. He and Linda got along, everyone got along with Mark. He was just that guy. I never worried about it. Why would I? 14 months ago, everything changed. Amanda, my oldest, called in the middle of the night. She sounded scared. She needed a kidney transplant. No matches in the registry. So we all got tested. Me, Linda, her siblings. I was nervous but hopeful. Maybe I could help even at my age. I'd never prayed harder. Then the doctor called me in for a private conversation. That phrase should have been a warning. He asked if I'd ever had a paternity test. I laughed, of course not. Why would I ever doubt? I joked that my daughter had my stubborn streak, so she had to be mine. He looked down at his clipboard and said, "Mr. Thompson, based on these results, you can't biologically be Amanda's father." I stared at him. I thought maybe he mixed up the paperwork. I made him check again. He shook his head. I walked out of that office in a fog. Drove home and sat in the car for an hour, engine running, staring at the dashboard. How do you process that? I kept thinking, maybe it's just Amanda. Maybe there was a mix-up. Maybe I'm not remembering something. I didn't tell Linda. Didn't say anything to anyone. For days I barely slept. I started looking at my kids differently, searching their faces for answers. I noticed little things that never crossed my mind before. Jason's dimple, Rachel's laugh, Kyle's way of pacing when he's nervous. Linda kept asking me if I was sick. I lied and said it was just work stress. I decided I needed answers. Real ones. I found an online service for paternity tests. Expensive but discreet. I got DNA swabs from Jason and Rachel with some dumb excuse about genealogy. Kyle was harder. He was visiting from out of town, but I managed to get a used coffee cup after he left. 2 weeks later, the results came in. None of them were mine. Not a single one. I sat in my garage that night, staring at the boxes of Christmas decorations, old bikes, and baby clothes we'd never thrown away. I felt like I was looking at artifacts from someone else's life. I waited until Linda went to bed, then sat at the kitchen table until sunrise. I rehearsed 100 conversations in my head. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to disappear. In the end, when the house was quiet, I asked her to sit down. I slid the results across the table. She picked them up, read the first page, and her face went white. She tried to play dumb. "What's this? Why would you do this?" I didn't answer. I just stared. Her lips started trembling. Her hands shook. Then she broke. She started crying, whispering, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I asked, "Whose are they?" She didn't answer at first. Then she said the name that hit me like a punch. Mark. It was Mark. I thought I was going to be sick. I asked, "All of them?" She nodded. "It was a long time ago," she said. "We were young. It was a mistake. I thought at least one was yours." She started making excuses. "We were drunk the first time, I didn't know how to stop. He meant something to me, but I chose you. I always loved you." It all sounded like static. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 40 years. 40 years, and the person I trusted most after Linda, hell, maybe even more than Linda, was the father of my kids. My best friend. The guy I trusted with every secret, every worry, every joy. I asked her how long it went on. She said almost a decade. Started in our late 20s after Jason was born. They'd sneak around, meet at hotels, sometimes even at our house when I was working late. She cried and said she was sorry, that it didn't mean anything, but he was always there for me when you were working. I asked her if she ever planned to tell me. She shook her head. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just felt empty. Like someone had scooped out my insides and replaced them with ice. I left the house and drove around for hours. I ended up at a diner, the kind that still has jukeboxes at every booth. I ordered coffee and sat there until my hands stopped shaking. I called a lawyer the next day. I told him everything. He asked about assets, debts, retirement. I told him my retirement fund was separate, something a coworker told me to do when I was in my 30s, just in case. I never thought just in case would be this. We were already empty nesters. The house was mine before marriage. A little 2-bedroom Linda and I bought with a loan from my dad. No shared debt. No joint accounts except for the checking we used for bills. Linda tried everything. Crying, screaming, bargaining. I didn't mean for this to happen. You're the only one I've ever truly loved. They need you, you're still their dad. I'll be alone. Please don't do this. I just got colder. Every word out of her mouth made me feel less and less. I started to wonder if I'd ever really known her at all. I didn't tell the kids right away. I needed time to figure out what to say. I talked to a therapist, tried to work through my own anger and grief. The therapist told me that my feelings were valid, that betrayal this deep is like a death. I didn't want therapy. I wanted to wake up and find out it was all a bad dream. Eventually, I sat each of the kids down separately. I told them the truth, not every detail but enough. I said there was a mistake, that I'd found out I wasn't their biological father, and that their real father was someone close to me. Amanda cried. Jason just sat there silent. Rachel shook her head, said, "No way." Kyle looked like he'd been punched. I told them I loved them, that nothing would change that. I said I needed time and that I understood if they did too. 3 out of 4 said some version of, "You're still my dad." But I could see it broke them. Their whole idea of family, of who they were, was shattered. Rachel was the most angry. She cut off contact with Linda completely and moved in with a friend for a while. Jason drank too much for a few weeks. Amanda didn't say anything for days, then sent me a text. "I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I love you." That message almost broke me. Kyle tried to make jokes about it, but I could tell he was hurting. "Guess that explains why I suck at math," he said. I laughed, but it was hollow. Linda tried to get the kids on her side. She called, texted, begged. She wrote long emails about forgiveness and moving forward. None of it worked. The kids were polite but distant. Now here's where I went scorched earth. The divorce. My lawyer helped me file within a week. Since my retirement was separate and the house was mine before marriage, Linda got almost nothing. She left with her car, some clothes, and whatever sentimental junk she could carry. No alimony, no share of my savings, nothing. She tried to negotiate, to guilt me into giving her more. "I gave you my best years," she said. "You gave me someone else's children," I replied. She moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the edge of town. Got a job at a craft store, the kind of place she used to drag me to every Saturday. I heard from mutual friends that she cries a lot. I don't care. The will. I rewrote everything. All of my assets go into a trust for the grandkids. Not the kids, the grandkids. If my kids want to visit, they can. But they won't get rich off my back. I still love them even if they're not mine. But after everything, I can't give them more than that. Mark, this was the hardest part. I called him and said we needed to talk. We met at the same diner I went to after Linda confessed. No yelling. No theatrics. I slid the DNA results across the table. He stared at them for a long time. Didn't say a word. I told him he destroyed 2 families, that he was dead to me. He tried to apologize, but I cut him off. You don't get to apologize, I said. You had 40 years to do that. He moved out of state a few months later. I heard his wife divorced him too. Apparently she'd suspected something for years. Word got around town fast. People quit inviting him to things. He became a ghost. The fallout. I didn't blast it on Facebook, but I told enough people. Linda's sisters, her pastor, a couple of our closest friends. Linda stopped going to church. People quit smiling at her in the grocery store. She faded into the background. I kept my head down. Went to work, did what I had to do. After the divorce, I retired early. Sold the house, bought a little place by the lake. I fish, read, travel when I feel like it. I see the grandkids when I can, but the family's different now. There's a distance that wasn't there before. I still cry sometimes when I look at old photo albums. Not because I want her back, but because I feel like I wasted the best years of my life on a lie. I loved a woman who lied to my face for 40 years. I trusted a man who shook my hand while stabbing me in the back. Would I do it all again? No. I'd ask more questions. I'd pay more attention. I wouldn't give blind trust so easily. But I raised 4 good people, even if they weren't mine. That counts for something, I hope. Linda reached out again recently, a long, rambling email about forgiveness and healing. I didn't reply. She made her bed. If you're reading this thinking, that would never happen to me, don't be so sure. Infidelity doesn't always look like lipstick on a collar or late nights at the office. Sometimes it looks like your best friend's smile at Christmas dinner, or your wife baking your favorite lasagna. I'm not writing this for pity or revenge. I'm writing it because I wish someone had told me, pay attention. Trust but don't be blind. And if you ever find yourself in my shoes, stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone convince you that loving them means letting them destroy you. I sleep well now. I wake up alone, but I wake up at peace. If anyone's got questions, fire away. I've got nothing left to hide.